wants to do something. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce these guys, and then we're going to have two of them preach tonight. So, Caleb, let me kick off with you. How old are you, bud?
35.
35. And did you grow up only knowing your dad as a pastor, or did he do something else?
Yeah, I grew up in the church.
Yeah.
My earliest memories of going to church is going to prayer meetings, sleeping underneath the front row.
Right.
Growing up in the church.
So good.
That was my dad my whole life, my parents.
California.
Yeah, he was my dad. It wasn't just Pastor Kevin. Yeah. He was my dad.
Yeah.
But yeah. So growing up, before he planted or anything, it was just ministry, living every day. We were at church. We used to have prayer meetings all the time.
Right.
Jesse Mason.
That's right. And you're a twin too, aren't you?
I am a twin.
Yeah, right. And always in California. That's where you've grown up.
Yep, Southern California. Well, I'm about 45 minutes or to an hour east of LA, just in the suburbs outside
Okay,
LA.
so for us here, how close to Hollywood?
Oh, an hour and a half with traffic, 3 hours. Yeah. No one goes to Hollywood. It's really trashy now.
But he's got a Hollywood accent, right?
Gross. It's gross now, yeah.
So you married? How long?
Married for 14 years. I have 4 kids. My oldest is 11.
Did you hear that? He's 35 years old. He has 4 kids. Oldest is?
11, 9, 6, and 2.
Wow.
And I have 3 girls and 1 boy. My boy is 6 years old.
Wow, there we go. What does your wife do as a living?
My wife, Jennifer, works on campus with us on our school. We have on our campus, we have a church and a school, and my wife is the principal over the elementary school, and she's one of the administrators, and so we get to work together on campus, and it's a privilege.
Okay, so tell us about the handover, how that happened.
Handover was awesome. I feel like a call of God on my life, 12 years old. I feel like I went to my first youth leaders getaway. All the leaders of the youth leadership team went away, and I, for some reason, felt it upon my heart to pray for God, what am I going to do the rest of my life at 12 years old? But I was like slain in the spirit, and God spoke to me, you're going to be a pastor one day. And so didn't happen the next day. It happened a long time later, but just the call of God on my life as a young kid. Said yes to God at a young age. And after I graduated high school, became an elder at 18. And just been serving in the church on eldership team for 15 plus years, and then just recently, last 5 years, just kind of God started stirring my heart, my dad's heart, the eldership team of transition. My dad's,
Your dad's not old.
No, he's 60. Yeah. So it's not a thing we moved into because of age. It was just a thing of like God doing it, and I'm really stoked they're still there. My dad's on my eldership team. And
there we go.
my dad, if you know my parents, Kevin and Cindy, in their own right, they're just phenomenal, gifted, prophetic, apostolic people.
Right.
And so but man, my dad's always modeled just holding the ladder for others. Wow. And making room for other giftings, and he's my biggest cheerleader, and so, It's been incredible, yeah.
I'd like you to tell us something about your dad. First time I met Kevin Booth, he's trimmed down a bit now because he's riding his bicycle, but he was massive, like a bodybuilder type guy.
He used to lift weights a lot. All my friends were scared to death of him, yeah.
Yeah, massive man.
Not anymore,
but he had this condition. He produced kidney stones, didn't he?
Yeah.
How many in a year?
My dad's one of the biggest kidney stone producers in the United States. Yeah.
They're not kidding. He really is.
No.
How many in a year?
I don't know. We don't talk about it every day. It's just like part of his life, but he's having at least 1 a month, sometimes 2 a month. So it's the pain, it travels from the kidney all the way down. So all the way down, it's cutting, scraping. It's like razor blades. So
I saw him on an airplane once about 15 years ago. He was standing next to, where you put your luggage above your head, and he was banging his head against, and then this massive man, I thought the plane was going to come down, hitting his head with a pain, and yet he's ministered through that all these years.
Yeah.
There must have been times where he couldn't preach on a Sunday.
Travel would stir it up, make it worse, but he would still get on the plane. He served on the NCMI team for a long time.
Wow.
So, so just the travel would stir it up, but he'd still go. And he'd end up in hospital in countries around the world. So
I've seen that. And so he's on your team, and just a glimpse, through the transition now, a glimpse of your future. What do you see?
Well, just working more with the NCMI team, which is exciting. It's something that I knew was coming, but just stepping into now, and so I'm excited for that. our church has a bright future, and you know, we just kind of now we're past the honeymoons phase a little bit through the transition, and you know, and now it's like, okay, God, what's next? And so you know, there's some things God's stirring on our hearts, but there's some big things God's doing. So we don't have the whole picture yet, but our church is growing, our church is healthy, our school is doing great, and believing for the bigger things in God. And so I really do love California and love where I'm at, and believe that God's got some big things for us. Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming out, and we look forward to hearing from him.
What a privilege. Seriously, thank you. I thought South Africa was Joburg.
Can you believe it?
Because I've only been to Joburg. And everybody keeps telling me that's the armpit of South Africa. So
these guys have all moved from Joburg.
If anybody from Joburg hears this, I love Joburg too, but just this Georgia's better. Yeah.
Okay, Leo, have you got a mic?
I've got a mic, I think.
Yeah. So Leo is of Italian origin. Tim?
Sicilian.
Sicilian, close.
Still Italian. Still Italian, but.
Are Sicilians all short? Is that how it works?
I'm tall over there.
For those who can't see, his legs are going like this, about a foot off the ground. How old are you, Leo?
54.
54. And how long have you been married?
30 years in December.
Wow. Okay, that's exactly the same as me, 30 years and 54. So, but you married a Sri Lankan lady.
Yeah.
And how did you meet her?
She was in Melbourne, and I was going to Melbourne, a friend of mine, to spend time with the Lord while I was, just seeking God about the call of God on my life. And so when I went to church, because a friend of mine that I was staying with, she was there, and we sort of, hi.
There we go. And so your story, I mean, how long had you been married when you planted?
I planted the church 2 years before we got married.
Before you planted as a single guy with your brother?
Yes, my brother came about a month after I left the church to plant.
You planted a church
my older
as
brother.
A single man?
22 years old.
Wow, so those who are good at maths can tell how old the church is.
You said 22.
And that's incredible. How many kids have you got?
5. So Leon's the firstborn. 4 boys and a little girl, and 3 of them are married. And Leon's got a grandson, a year and a half. Leon, I've got a grandson. So Leon's got a son, my grandson.
Yeah.
And my second son is with his wife giving birth in about 3 or 4 weeks. Yeah. For a second grandson, yeah.
Wow. So, just remind me, how old were you when you planted?
22.
22. Did you do anything? Did you do some secular occupation while you were planting?
Not really. I was living at home with my Italian mum, so she took care of me.
As Italian moms do.
I would have done things different, but back then I got saved at 19, and I just devoured the Bible, read the Word, going out, telling everyone about Jesus, just passionate for the Lord. And then at 22 we started, but I was still staying at home, and I didn't keep. I sort of kept a 20-hour-a-week job at certain times, and but I went full time, even though I started the church. There was no one at home because I was living at home.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so, tell us a little bit about the church that you're leading now. You just bought a building.
Yeah, it's in the process of still buying it, but yes.
Yeah. In South African rands, you shouldn't really convert like this, but in South African rands, it's 120 million rand. So, I mean,
that sounds
we
a lot.
shouldn't convert like that. It's not healthy for us. But tell us a bit about the church. A lot of young people, a lot of Italians, a lot of...
Yeah, we're very multicultural, I think. And, we've just bought a building, so, we're excited about our new phase. Because for 32 years that we've been going, we've always used leased buildings, rented buildings, or set up in function centres and what we call RSL clubs. And so we'd always set down for many, many years. And then we had, maybe the last 10 years, leased buildings, but they're never ours. And so, there was a major opportunity to get this building. But we're still in the process because we're leasing it for 2 years and then buying it. We've got 1 more year to go. So we're raising the money to buy the building. Yeah, so.
Incredible. Tell us about your TV thing that you do, because that's also quite unique.
yeah, many years ago, a prophet that we didn't know from Malaysia, was like, Leon was in Christine's student. It was actually full. Leon was absolutely, she was ready to give. I think she gave birth that night after the prophecy. But this guy just prophesied over all the pastors, and he said, just prophesied radio and TV ministry. And so that exploded in my heart. I just said, because in my heart I felt we were going to do that eventually one day. So I sort of said to the devil, ha ha, devil, I told you so. Because it was such a confirmation when he spoke that out. And I never met this guy ever in my life. And so we got on radio probably 4 or 5 years after that, I think. And we've been on radio for 22 years, 4 or 5 different secular stations. So we play music, hip-hop, R&B, Christian stuff, and then share the gospel. And we just let that go this year because we still do TV, we do a lot of YouTube, do a lot of social media, a lot of short films to bring the message across to, So now, the internet, everything's changing, so we're trying to get the gospel out that way through the internet, yeah.
Wow. Leo, so grateful you've come out and are joining us today. Thanks, man. And, Leon?
Yes.
Tell us how old you are.
I am 28.
28.
Yes.
And married for?
5, just about to hit 5 years. Yeah, I head back home for a 5-year anniversary.
There we go.
Yeah.
These guys marry young, eh? And how did you meet your wife?
She is my high school sweetheart. Well, she's mine, I'm not hers. I just remember that. High school was a terrible season of my life. I had a massive crush on this girl. She didn't like me. But then we kind of got back together to catch up a couple years after. She went through some Bible college stuff, and then we got back together, had a bit of a date, and the rest is history. She changed her mind. The Lord delivered her, and now we have a baby as well, so it's all good. Yes, that's a miracle of harvest.
Yeah.
So contending for harvest.
Exactly. So you're a muser, and I'm assuming you're also involved in the whole media TV thing.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Tell us about that School of Supernatural that you guys do. How's God used that?
Yeah, sure, 100%. Okay, so we host what we call a School of Supernatural Ministry, which I guess if you were to boil it down, I guess our pursuit is to see sons and daughters know who they are in Christ. So the supernatural tag, it's just like naturally supernatural living, So what we do is we're raising people up and, teaching them how to hear God's voice and, work in, signs, wonders, and miracles to confirm the word for the purpose of seeing Jesus exalted. And so we're actually seeing incredible miracles, testimonies happening out in the streets to the point where, like, if you know Sydney, Sydney is a secular society, but also I'd say like a spiritually secular society. So there's also like an openness to spirituality. And so we've had the opportunity, for example, to go up and set up a tent in one of the spiritual festivals and offer prayer. So this is happening like once a month, and they're asking us to come back weekly. We just don't have the resources for it, people-wise, at the moment. But once a month, we've got a tent out there, and we're offering prayer. People come, they're getting healed, they're getting dreams interpreted, prophetic ministry, like really accurate prophetic ministry, and then people being led to Jesus, which is the ultimate prize of the whole thing. We just saw a testimony of someone getting saved last week as well. Just like super radical salvations where they're encountering Jesus. You're not having to convince them that they're encountering, and so it's beautiful. Yeah.
Wow, beautiful. What are you dreaming about?
What am I dreaming about? Well, I'm dreaming about seeing my son again in 2 weeks. That's such an interesting question. Like, I'm so excited about the future, yet so like thrilled and content in what I'm a part of for this season as well. So like things that like I'm really excited about for the future is continuing to pay a price for a harvest to come as well. So we're starting to dream in the eldership team again about like what does it look like to keep stretching the tent pegs and reaching different parts of the city. So I'm really excited about that and paying the price for that, I guess. Yeah.
Wow.